Hi, and welcome back. We are now on Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, episode 7. Back with me again is my older sister, Amanda.
Hey,
Yeah, so that was pretty grisly seeing Homer burn to death.
yeah,
Yeah, and fun fact with this one, this one has a much different viewpoint of American politics, as we'll get into. But I love this one because this is when I actually started losing track of which segments are paired with what. So I felt like I'm watching these for the first time almost. I feel like I'm usually seeing clips of these separate from the actual episode.
I think this actually is one of the best ones. I quote this one all the time.
Exactly.
The politics one that you're talking about that comes up later. But um, does this one have any kind of like the evil twin type thing? Is this like rooted in any kind of thing like the one before, which was like obviously a ripoff of what was it? The Raven,
Yeah,
or is it?
this one I'm not exactly sure outside the name being a parody of The King and I.
Mm,
I think it's just one of these things where it's like there's evil twins in
yeah.
pop culture, so I don't think this one's specifically aping off anything more of a concept, which is one of the first ones where it's not really at least somehow rooted in a specific parody, which is interesting. So, it took 7 years before we could get to that one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, this one, continuing the trend of going a little further down in rankings from part five's was the highest at 9.2. This is 8.5. So we're still in a pretty good range. I just love, like, the often not seen Simpsons attic makes an appearance in this one. Sometimes they have an attic, sometimes they don't. There's actually a really great YouTube channel called The Real Gyms that I've probably mentioned before, where he does a lot of Simpsons histories and Simpsons mysteries. And he did a video on the layout of the Simpsons house. So Homer, I Hardly Knew Me is a great gag, and that's another notebook my sister gave me. Had the Homer, I Hardly Knew Me as the cover of it. But yeah, so the Simpsons house, yeah, I love it. It's got like the big gothic windows here that we've never seen before or
Yeah.
since,
I
nor these
feel
antique faces.
Yeah, I feel like everything they use the attic only for like weird shit, like Ned Flanders like was stalking Lisa in the what was it, the Rear Window parody
Yeah,
episode, or yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and
I
then
love I love this line. I'm disappointed and terrified.
Artie Zift also stayed up there in one episode. They
Mm,
find out he's gone bankrupt and has been hiding there, sucking the moisture off the rafters.
mm.
Hugo,
See
it's
you
great.
soon.
Yeah,
I
it's
love I love Marge. She doesn't get enough credit for like her lines are so funny. See you soon.
yeah, yeah. Again, just like how like evil Marge and Homer are in this
Yeah.
one. It's like they're
Yeah.
really irredeemable,
Yeah, they're feeding him fish heads.
keeping him locked up.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it. How they end with Bart is horrific.
Yeah. Conjoined, I like that. The sons of the soil.
Pure evil. Um, it's great that we do have the canon of him having the afro in there.
Yeah. I think I'll bottle feed that one. Great
Joke I did not
lines.
get as a kid,
Yeah.
but it's a funny
Yeah.
joke now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how they give the evil one a slightly furrowed brow, and then the joke of him using a paper cutter to just cut the
Yeah.
birth certificates.
Do you remember paper cutters in school? They were always like so like scary.
Well, and that's the thing. I've actually had to print off some stuff at like Office Max recently, and it needed to be
Mm-hmm.
cut down. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't have those scary paper cutters that are essentially just a machete on a hinge anymore. It's
Right.
like a razor blade that you slide that's completely encased in plastic, so you can't cut yourself on it, and therefore it sucks. So come on, who cares if a few kids cut their fingers off?
I could never cut it straight anyway, and I could never do anything straight. Get
But
it?
zing.
Get it? I'm gay.
The family just completely leaving
I
right
like we
away.
missed the line where like where any like crazy person would hang out and they start at Radio Shack.
Yeah. I mean, this is just like really horrific
Yeah.
implications. Like it
Yeah.
truly is the most evil, and it seems like I think a modern day Simpsons episode would have it as well. We got to give him up for adoption, and Marge being like, "Okay, make sure he goes to a loving home, Homer," and then he just gets too lazy and just puts him up in the attic himself. So that would be more of a Marge being like angry at him too. But no, we get to see
Yeah.
how terrible she is in this.
Yeah.
And then
It's
this is
yeah, there's a line later there that we just trapped him in the attic and gave him a bucket of fish heads a week, and she just chimes in and says, "It saved our marriage."
yeah, yeah, it's fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. Dr. Hibbert here's you think he's gonna be cleverly trying to trick Bart, but no, not at all. It's just very brute strength.
Yeah. It's just punching a child in the face.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I just love the attic is so much bigger than also like it's never
Yeah.
this big. Like they got 12-foot ceilings.
Yeah. Yeah. Floor to ceiling windows.
And then we got the Dr. Hibbert is the incompetent doctor in this one. Retrospect, it should have been Dr. Nick.
Yeah.
I like that canonically Bart's bratty. This is now explained by him being pure evil.
Right. And then they put Bart up in the attic.
Yeah. Again, like you can just get away with so many mean-spirited moments in these Halloween specials. Like you can tell, like the writers must love the like being able to like let steam off. Like, oh, we're gonna murder the family. Like they've never like someone did like was the real Jims like went through all the deaths that horrifying.
You finish your fish heads and then we'll talk. Jesus Christ.
Where like he went through all the deaths in The Simpsons of all the characters who've died in this, and it's like they're very careful that they never have the Simpsons family kill each other. They always get close, but they've been pretty kind on that end. Usually Marge and Lisa and Maggie are spared the most. It's usually Homer and Bart who are the ones getting killed through their own idiocy.
Right.
This is actually a great parody because this is a parody of the Twilight Zone episode The Little People, except the main character is split into two people here. So in the episode, there's two astronauts. One is pretty bland and does nothing, but the other one finds the civilization of tiny aliens who treat him as a god, build stuff to him, and then he's just goes mad with power and starts destroying them. So it's very interesting. That's like okay, we're gonna split that in between Lisa and Bart. Because I guess the very easy thing to have done is Lisa's pissed that they revere Bart as the god, and he's still destroying them. And she's like, no, we gotta do scientific things. It's like, no, it's that could have been a great conflict with her not feeling godlike. But there you are.
I like this. So she's just like, these are square pancakes.
How do you make those?
The waffle iron's always in the shop. What?
I mean, Homer's got to fix it like he did with the toaster.
That's right. I've created Lutherans.
Again, great joke. Yeah, there's actually a Netflix show called Love, Death, and Robots. It's like a sci-fi show, and they kind of almost aped off of this, where it's like Topher Grace, and I'm forgetting the actress, find a civilization in their freezer, and they're just like watching it evolve over like the eons, like within the course of like a couple hours. Like there's like a joke in it where like they get to the point where they start a nuclear Armageddon, and they're like, okay, well, it'll take a while to rebuild from that. Why don't we order a pizza? They're just like eating a pizza. It's like they're rebuilding from World War III.
Bart is so rude. I do like the episodes where Bart and Lisa are kind of at odds with each other. They're always kind of funny.
Yeah. No, they're great. Yeah, this also I know it was a parody of a movie of itself, but I always think of the Rugrats episode where they go in Chucky's stomach to get the
Oh
seed
yeah,
that
yeah,
was.
the watermelon seed. That's right.
Yeah, I love this. It's only a minor annoyance what they're doing to him. Yeah, it's just a great dynamic with the two of them here, where it's just
Yeah.
like it's the pettiness of like sibling rivalry as they've
Right.
created fucking life. It's
Yeah.
like this is earth
Yeah.
shattering implications, but they're still doing the one step away from the doing I'm not touching you thing.
Yeah.
And then imagine how horrifying this would be.
The debigulator. We have learned to imitate you exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, we're still in the era where I love these ones. Like I said, I'm starting like to lose track of which one went with which. Because
Yeah.
I think I felt like I would see clips of them more like on YouTube than actually watch them. I don't own any of the DVD seasons this far, so if I ever, and prior to Disney Plus, I didn't like really watch this. I would just see the compilations every now and then. So it's nice being able to see these as they were originally intended in 4:3.
There you go.
Do you have it on 4:3 on your Disney Plus?
Probably not.
You're missing the jokes.
I know all the jokes. I live in the Clark building. What? Okay.
Yeah, a few years later, Simpsons would Futurama would tackle an episode like this where Bender gets a civilization of tiny people living on him, and they all refer to him as God, and like it's the same thing. They're all complaining, and he's like, "I don't know how to fix any of this," and like he just keeps making it worse and worse and worse every time he tries to help.
Yeah.
It's a great episode. You should check it out. It's called Godfellas. Show you their
I've never
parodies.
liked you. I don't care about Futurama.
I'm talking to the audience. Not everything's about you.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Please stay. Don't leave. I can't do the rest of these by myself.
I know. Jesus Christ. I could leave right now.
I love this Martin's milk carton ukulele. It's like that's more of a Ralph joke, you would think.
Yeah, that's like not very Martin-esque, right? He would go all out for the science fair. I love that she wants the gift certificate. Like that's like so funny. Like back in the day, like a gift certificate was like the thing.
Well, on the Dilbert show, which I'm ashamed to say I like,
Dilbert.
you know what? Yeah, I liked it before we knew what Scott Adams was like, but they do that where they're like he doesn't know what to buy his mom for her birthday, and he's like, oh, should I get her a gift certificate? And they're like, that's the worst type of gift. That's just money with an expiration date that you can only use in certain stores.
Yeah, I have a Red Lobster gift certificate that is burning a hole in my pocket because the only Red Lobster is in Times Square. So there you go.
Yeah. So, well, onto this one though. Yeah, this may be another whole new story. It potentially could be aping off a little bit of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, this is the first time Kang and Kodos have been main characters since the first one, or have had any level of consequence since part 2. So we've just been seeing them as one-off gags here and there, and then we find out Kodos is a woman in this one.
Hello. I suppose you want to probe me. It's like, no, we don't.
Yeah, this one, it's very weird watching this one, in 2021, because it's like it had a much different view of politics than
So that was the joke. So that's the one that I always quote, Clin-ton. So whenever anybody was talking about Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton, I would always be like, Clin-ton. which nobody really gets. So I just sound insane.
There you go. Yeah, and then Bob Dole, remember him?
God, he's still alive. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him at Bush Senior's funeral. I'm like, he's still alive?
Still hanging out. He looks like shit.
I mean, he's 95 years old. What do you think you're going to look like at 95?
I'm going to look fucking great when I'm 95.
I also like the implication Bill Clinton's sleeping while Bob Dole's like hard at work.
Yeah.
And then I don't get up until noon. Yeah, I'm really like up to date on my Bill Clinton jokes. That I've been listening to a bunch of Norm Macdonald compilations, and he was making fun of them a lot on Weekend Updates. So I've heard like a million Clinton jokes this week. So.
You know that I went and saw Norm Macdonald at the New York Comedy Festival, and it was the worst comedy set I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, why are you telling me that?
It was awful.
I wanted to understand his comedy.
I wanted to leave. It was really bad. It was really bad. Although I'll tell you, when we're not on camera, the best one I've ever seen.
Okay. Yeah, but I like
because he's problematic now. We can't have nice things.
Yeah. That way I like this, like to convince, make sure people don't believe him. They just drench him in booze.
America flips a coin.
Like this, some rather cryptic remarks.
I am Clin-ton.
And that's Slick Willie for you. Again, it's just like such classic Marge lines on these. Sure you were rummy. Yeah, I like how like they have like him like have lazy eyes, like they can't understand like which way their eyes should be pointing. Sorry, we're just admiring the jokes. Yeah, 73-year-old candidate Bob Dole. And this was 20-something years ago.
Oh my god. Oh, yeah, like, very well. No abortions for anyone.
I mean, that just sums up the
American
voting population in a nutshell.
It totally does. And they're walking down the street holding hands.
Yeah, this is a far cry from last year's Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, which opened up showing like the day after the election, Dan Homer on his roof with like a shotgun as the city's burning around him. Yeah, I just love how like people are like, oh, okay, this is I guess kind of normal, and then yeah, they're having their debate in Springfield.
I dreamed of being a baseball.
Again, it's just great because it's like they're just singing meaningless platitudes, and it's like, is it a little ridiculous? Yeah, but it's like it's not that far off now. They were definitely ahead of the curve.
Twirling, twirling, twirling towards freedom.
Marge is like, oh, great embarrassment again. Derisive snorting is what the caption said. Yeah, you think the Secret Service would have stepped up their game after Reagan, but apparently in this world they haven't. That was an assassination joke reference.
Wow.
Very topical.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, I'm so mad at my Secret Service right now. Where were you guys? And then Homer trying to pilot this is great. It's just so sad, like reading these captions and just knowing where politics has gone in the 20-something years.
We should talk about how mom and dad voted for Bob Dole.
Yeah, I found a picture of us at Grandpa's house, and Mom's wearing a big old Dole 96 button. I'm like, oh.
Why? Who was that enthusiastic about Bob Dole?
Apparently, Mom and Dad were.
Like a big button? Like you're gonna wear like a Bob Dole button? It's
to
like
be
being,
fair, to
it's
be
like
fair,
being, it's like being really excited about John Kerry. Like who was excited about John Kerry? Nobody.
yeah, that was the button Mom was wearing right on his lapel there.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm assuming our Uncle Tony, who is big into Republican politics, he's the one who sends stuff to me to this day. They still think I'm a Republican, but like whatever. So every now and then I'll get like a bunch of like, here's a bunch of bumper stickers. So I'm thinking it might have been one of those. He's like, here you go.
Bumper stickers for who?
Just like random Republican bumper stickers. I haven't gotten one in a while, but like I got some throughout like high school and college. They mailed to me. I'm like, okay, thanks guys. Like they gave me all their Rush Limbaugh newsletters from like the 90s
Yeah,
and 2012.
I remember those.
And I gave those away to a teacher at the high school I did not like. So I started with the most recent ones. I would just hide them in her office. And throughout the year, like, they got progressively older and older. And she's like, where are you getting all these from?
Oh, there you go, Ross Perot.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that's a great joke. Who are you going to vote for? It's a two-party system. And it's like, oh, it hurts.
Yeah, it's true.
And then don't blame me. I voted for Kang, I think, is who won, right?
No,
Kodos. Oh, sorry, Kang won.
Yeah. Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos.
Yeah, and one of my Simpsons Treehouse of Horror figures from childhood that I still have is President Kang, and they had the backdrop of the Simpsons as slaves. So, yeah, and there we go. That's the end of this one. So join us again in a few moments after the countdown to watch Treehouse of Horror number 8.
Oh, sorry.
I said, okay, so we're on number 8, but yeah, this is potentially my favorite cold opening of the entire
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I got so excited.
Yeah. Again, it's like this is where they all bleed in together that I don't remember what comes with what. So seeing that was a actual treat. Yeah, they're really laying the catharsis out, making fun of the censors.
It's my job to protect you from reality.
And we've come a far way from Marge Simpson warning you this might be too scary to we're mocking you. Or senseless CBS violence.
I mean, they're literally murdering a censor right now. I mean, think about like, you know what I mean? Like when you think about like the business of TV and how like they have to go through a censor to like get anything approved and on air. And so they're basically like brutally murdering their coworker, like for millions of people to see. Like you can't even like say anything out of turn now, like because people will get all upset. But like they literally murdered the censor on the show.
Yeah, I mean, you never see depictions of censors as good. There was an episode of Freakazoid where they have the censor on, and like, you know, he doesn't kill her, but like they keep beating her up in cartoony ways, and like the announcer's like, "Oh, what? You're not gonna let us show us what we want?" It's just like, oh my god. But you're right. I mean, it's like you're depicting the murder of a coworker who was like, their job is very important, and it's like. And when you see like what these shows get away with, oh, I stand by my ethnic slur. Oh my god. You know how unpredictable the French are. I forgot that was what led into this. Yeah, this is the segment, the Omega Man.
USA number one.
which I fucking love this one. This is, I think, one of my favorite segments. But yeah, because like, yeah, Homer's like underpreparedness. It goes back to the last time there were zombies, when they're like, "Oh, Homer, did you board up the door?" He's like, "Oh no," and then that's how the zombies get.
Oh, you meant tonight. Wait, I don't remember this one.
That's a clear one. Yeah, this is one of the last times also Herman appeared for a while.
Huh.
A lot of people theorize that after doing their Pulp Fiction parody, that kind of soured viewers, that he was always a little too evil. So, and then you have like, how often do you need the military antiques guy to come in? So like, yeah, let's give him a thing. But Yeah, no, I was thinking, I'm now gonna be anytime I'm thinking of the whole. Too bad we didn't watch this like a couple weeks ago during the whole tiff with Macron and Biden, because I would just been thinking about this during the entire thing. That the French are gonna nuke us now,
Hmm.
and then Intel inside. I don't understand that. There's their one cameo for the episode, already a downgrade for them. Um, yeah, finally getting to see their planet. It's not as nice as they described though in the first Treehouse of Horror.
What do they say in the first?
They're just like saying it's a paradise.
Hmm.
Quimby's great. Oh, yeah, I love comic book man here. Like it's just commentary, like commentary of here. Like, oh, this is how I've died. Like every true comic book nerd. That's how I plan to go out, getting nuked while reading a comic.
Sad. Hashtag sad.
Listen, you can't see it right now, but I'm surrounded by all my Halloween decorations I put up last night, so my life is going great.
Whatever makes you happy.
I love he's threatening to kick the shit out of Kirk's father, or Milhouse's father, and just does it. Yeah, Homer's so stupid he doesn't understand skeletons.
And the rest. This is a good line right here. Yeah. And the rest, and Maggie's in there. It's always like that's like the joke like is that like Homer always forgets about Maggie. Like the previous ones, like when they were like getting in trouble for like bad parenting, and the judge is like Margaret Simpson. He's like, who the hell is Margaret? and then and then when I think when he lost her in one of the early episodes, he was just trying to convince Marge that like they weren't that attached to her because she was really young.
Yeah, because it's hilarious because canonically she's not even 1 year old.
Yeah.
She was like born like earlier the year the show is. Oh yeah, great jab at the David Spade, Chris Farley comedies of the era.
Yikes.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Meaning
Homer
David Spade's
rocks.
career.
Homer rocks.
I mean, to be fair, wouldn't we all do that in church if we could?
No, I could think of like other shit that I would do if I
because
was
you're not
the
a
only...
heathen. You wouldn't want to do that. That's why.
Well, yeah, because the church is so important to me. That's why I would never do that, you know.
That's why we can't do these on Sundays, because Amanda goes to the 3-hour Catholic mass.
Yep. You know, I go to church every day now.
There you go.
What if I got really religious? Like, what if that was like the thing I started doing in my late 30s?
You know, it would be an interesting term to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Mom and Dad were a little worried when I was going to church school, and I knew a lot just based on pop culture. Like, I wasn't actually religious. I just was like, oh, I've seen parodies of Jesus, and they're like, your son knows so much about religion. He could go into the priesthood one day. And I'm sure they were like, what have we done?
Yeah. Well, and then Dad told me he doesn't even believe in God. So that's cool. That was great to do that for 12 years.
It's great. Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, at least you can say, like, you could get married in a Catholic church. That worked out great for you. So, I don't know. Maybe that'll happen for me to have made...
Dad was trying to convince me the other day that Monsignor would have done a gay marriage for me and Ashley, just like on the side. I was like, Dad, he's a Catholic priest. He would absolutely not do that. And he's like, nah, he was a nice guy. And I'm just like, oh my God.
He was nice.
Yeah, yeah.
He scared the shit out of me one time when our class was really bad and we broke our teacher's spirit. She called us a bunch of little R words and stormed out of the classroom. So the next week he was in there and he's like, listen, I'm not going to defend what she said, but you are by far the worst class we've had in here in years. I will be sitting in for the rest of the year in your class, and I will not sanction any tomfoolery. And that's a funny word. But he could be a stern man. He said that, and that did scare the crap out of me. So.
Tom.
And he just sat in the back of the classroom for the remainder of the year on like a folding chair with his arms crossed, angrily staring forward. Because he was done with church at that point. He should have had the rest of the day off, but us little assholes made him sit in there. But yeah, that's enough of Andrew and Amanda's Catholicism upbringing.
Yes. Yeah. We
Yeah,
fared better than most. I would say, right?
yeah.
So it's fine.
Yeah, by the way, I like this. It's like they're like, oh, we can have peace with you, and then they just shoot them with shotguns. Being friends with mutants, right?
Who wants to steal some Ferraris? Wow.
It's great. Yes, now we go into the second segment, Fly versus Fly, which is a parody of Spy versus Spy from Mad Magazine with the title, and then obviously it's a parody of The Fly. A little closer to the original The Fly, not the 1980s fucking body horror one with Jeff Goldblum.
Is that the one where he's like laying like salaciously all oiled up?
I mean, he does that to be fair in most of his movies.
Did
Uh,
he do that? I think he did that in that. I think that's where that's
I
from.
think so. I mean, yeah, it's a nice try. You were designed for scrubbing, and scrubbing is what you shall do. It's like Rick and Morty later had the joke with the butter bots. Like, what is my purpose? You spread butter. Oh my god.
Mm-mm-mm.
And this is totally what Homer would do with a teleportation tube, just like do lazy man shit with it. Though, to be fair, I guess back in the office days, I probably would set one up in my office so I didn't have to deal with the 5 hour commute a day.
I mean, I would love to teleport. If I could fly, that'd be great.
You're a
You know,
couple
like,
years away from a helipad on your mansion, right?
oh yeah, that's true. That's true. For the people who don't know me, I'm rich.
You're filthy, filthy rich. Well, I mean, to be fair, since you're 70 years old, you've had time to accumulate a lot of wealth.
Yes, that's
Go ahead,
compound interest is great when you get to your 70s.
cat ear medicine in a beer candle. Um, then the joke that he actually likes it is great. It's also great because he keeps moving the tube around, which would require more effort than to just walk up the stairs to go to the
Right.
bathroom.
This is very Homer. Like it's on brand for Homer for sure.
Yeah, like he literally just dragged it upstairs to position in front of the toilet to then come back downstairs to pee in the living room.
It was your mother.
Yeah, no, and
When
coming
they
up,
when they turn him into a fly though, it's like really nasty. I really don't enjoy watching it.
yeah, and also, yeah, Matt Groening. I think it's time for you to sue Nickelodeon because they just ripped off, or Cat Dog is a rip off of this. So get on it, Matt.
Oh my god. You can be Lisa's.
Yeah. The horrifying implications. Yeah, I love how like Bart thinks he's just gonna become like super buff and have wings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most recent Burger King thing tie-in they did like 10 years ago, that was their depiction of Bart as the buff fly from that vision.
Ew, why?
I mean, they're on like number 4 of those. Like they're running out of depictions of the main Simpsons family.
For Halloween specifically?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I actually got picked up a set of them earlier in the year for the cheap, so it was great reliving my childhood with them.
Mm.
So they're now probably on my shelf for Halloween.
What if you want to bring a girl home?
I'm gonna tell them they're all my roommates. The stuff in my room might...
in your bedroom?
He has a lot of stuff.
Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is disgusting.
Yeah. Well, and this is more of the 1950s fly, where like they just got like a fly mask and put it on the guy's head.
Nasty.
Yeah, I believe in the Game Boy Color level, they have this be a Maggie level, though. They did a Treehouse of Horror game on Game Boy Color that I got years ago that I could never fucking beat because it's too difficult. And I believe this was the Maggie level that they said, she's the fly because we don't know what to do with Maggie.
I don't think I've ever beaten any video game that I've played.
I'll have to cut that clip out to show to my roommate / co-host Jake, because that's a running joke where I'm like, yeah, I didn't beat this game till I was 25. And he's like, that's a children's game, right? I'm like, you know what? They were hard.
What, like Super Mario Brothers 3? Has he beaten Super Mario Brothers 3? That's super hard.
I mean, I've never beaten Lego Island. I think is what he made from me. I couldn't get the Brickster back.
Oh, Lego Island is
No,
pretty
I'm
lame.
joking. Yeah.
Have you ever beaten Kirby? Like, I'm talking about like old school Nintendo games.
Kirby I could not beat. I've gotten to the last level multiple times. It's like I don't know like what to do.
It's too hard. It's too hard.
Yeah.
I think you got to know the cheats at this point. Maybe I'm gonna get into video games again during the sad winter.
That and religion.
Yes.
You're gonna play all the Bible video games.
Yeah, video games and religion go hand in hand, as we know. I like how he's just sitting there eating a bag of sugar.
To be fair, with what we ate in the 90s, is that much worse?
No.
It's like, I remember in high school, like during the plays, someone brought in a shit ton of pixie sticks for us. I'm like, we were literally sucking on paper tubes filled with flavor sugar.
Well, that's the same thing. What about like Fun Dip? Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, now Homer's just eating the sugar too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the silhouette is great of Bart.
Yeah.
Great way of I will admit this whole bit of like him talking to the saxophone to amplify it is actually a pretty clever thing.
Yeah. Yikes. Nasty.
Horrifying.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, because remember, it could have been worse. In the 80s Jeff Goldblum movie, he spits on his friend's hand, which disintegrates into a bloody goop, and like Jeff Goldblum's like pulling fingernails out. It's like fucking horror.
Ew! Why would you watch that?
It's a great horror movie.
No, thank you. You know what we watch every year is The Shining and Sweeney Todd and Hocus Pocus, of course.
Yeah, I have like 50 movies that we have to watch. So me and Jake have been getting into the Halloween mood a little earlier. So we've already done Creature from the Black Lagoon, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, and a bunch of the Hammer horror movies. So we're partway through.
Did you see that all the Halloween towns are on Disney Plus?
Yeah, but who wants to watch 3 and 4? And I own parts 1 and 2 on DVD.
Okay.
Though, if you want to see the commercials for parts 3 and 4 on YouTube, click the link below to my video of them. Cross promotion. We didn't arrange that.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Easy Bake Coven. Yeah, this is it's surprising. Like, this is the definitive version of Marge you see whenever they do the Halloween merchandise. It's her as the witch. So it's very funny. It took up to number 8 for them to come up with a good design for her.
Yeah, it is a good design, for sure.
Yeah. Now, this, going much like the Hugo one, is incredibly mean-spirited. But we'll get into that. I mean, not just witch burning, specifically what... yeah, goodbye, mother. Specifically what the Simpsons family does to each other. But yeah, I love how like their bonnets are shaped to their heads.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you really think about like the actual like witch trials, how horrific it is. But then the town of Salem has turned it into like a tourist thing. Like there's a statue of Elizabeth Montgomery as like Samantha from Bewitched in the town square, and it's like, you guys murdered like 20 people.
It had to have been more than 20.
No,
right?
It actually wasn't that many. I mean, there were witch trials across America, but like that was like the most sensational one. I'll put it up on the screen for you listeners to know, or you could also Google it. To be fair, though, I will say like a third of the one season of Bewitched was filmed in Salem. Like they were getting desperate at that point for ratings, so they're like, Samantha and Darren go to Salem, Massachusetts.
You were right. 19 were executed.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then that fucking jerk Arthur Miller makes a play out of it.
Oh my God, so boring.
I liked it. Oh yeah, by the way, I like this. Here's how the process works. You sit on a broom, we shove you off the cliff. If you fly, we capture you. That means you're a witch and we'll kill you. If you don't fly, that means you're an innocent Christian and you die with your soul. And it's like, that's only slightly dumber than what they actually did back then.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we'll drown you in the lake. If you drown, you're a Christian. If not, you're a witch. It's like...
yeah, okay, but like...
this doesn't work out for me anyway, though. But like, what colonial fucking hick logic is that? It's like, oh, they're a witch, but don't worry, these ropes we've used to tie them up will be able to stop their magic powers. And then, like, yeah, I like the twist. No, she actually was a witch. They were 100% right.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe only 19 witches were killed in Salem.
And warlocks. There were a couple men in there.
I don't care about the men.
Oh.
Why are you like? Why are you sitting in like a dark room? By the way, like you look like you're like I can't even see your face. Why do
It's
we?
weird because I got my lamp on and I'm sitting right by a window too.
I don't know.
Well, for the audio listeners or even YouTube listeners, there's nothing on the screen, so you won't ever know. Yeah, and I like they turn him into a fucking snowman, Princess Fairy. This is horrifying. Bats coming out of her hair. Oh, they're in my hair. They're in my hair. And then like the Skeletor mountain castle that's behind Springfield, evidently. And of course, Patty and Selma would be witches.
Of course, I would believe
right.
that.
Homer was right. I baked a cat. Oh. Yeah, no, it's a. Oh yeah, Durwood, Bewitched reference there.
Oh really?
Yeah, because that was the joke that Endor, the mother-in-law, would never call him the right name, and they would have a few variations, but Durwood was the most common one. I watched a lot of Bewitched.
So are you just making your way through like the Nick at Night like lineup?
Yeah, I'm halfway through Get Smart right now.
Why?
They're classics.
These shows aren't good though. I tried to watch like I don't even know what I tried to watch, but I was just like, this doesn't hold up. I don't love this show.
Well, I Love Lucy holds up, and you like that.
I don't even know that it holds up.
It does. Listen, I love all the jokes about politics in the era that are very different. There's an episode of Bewitched where like the mother-in-law creates some weird like magic detector or whatever, and his boss comes over and it's like, what's that? It's like, oh, it detects liberals, and the audience howls because hey, we're in the Nixon era right now. It's great.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I like that they're going trick-or-treating. They're like witches, and they still open the door again. It's Homer or Ned and Maude are very good-natured, and then yeah, I like this idea of just like, oh, this is how trick-or-treating started.
They're boneless. Just like boneless wings.
Boneless wings are great.
The lamest promotion ever. They're just chicken tenders.
Yeah, but I like that. You hags are all right. He's like a gopher.
You hags are all right.
Candied caramel. Ugh. Or fish or whatever it is. Yep, that's how Trick or Treat started. Yeah, no, it's a great thing. Yeah, no, I like I said, I just love how like mean spirited like this one is as well. The mean spirited ones I think are my favorites. So, but yeah, no. Apparently those 1600s kids got to have a lot of costumes made up. I don't think they would have been able to spare the fabric. It would have been like,
yeah,
we're gonna die of dysentery. We have to do this. Yeah, Homer dressed up as I Dream of Jeannie is horrifying, and then how quickly he turns on like Lisa for being mildly embarrassed.
Unbelievable.
Is
this it? We're done with the second episode?
Yeah, we're flying through these. So, yeah, join us again for part 9 momentarily. All right, we're now back for the last episode of this episode, Treehouse of Horror number 9, original air date October 25th, 1998. I realize I haven't done that for the other two, so oops.
Way to go. You have one fucking job.
I'll dub it in. Yeah, I like this. The play off the opening of the show where, everyone but Marge and Lisa, or Marge and Maggie die. And then, we got Freddy versus Jason. We'd have to wait a few more years to get the actual Freddy versus Jason movie, but we got it at least in 1998, kind of.
Never seen any of those.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the Fridays except for Jason X, where he goes to space, and then the remake, and then I've seen Freddy versus Jason. And I've seen a couple of the Nightmares. They're interesting.
I mean, you know, Halloween is so not my thing.
Yeah, all the movies she listed out earlier to watch, those are all the work of my lovely sister-in-law, forcing her to watch them, and it's great.
That's right. But The Shining is objectively a good movie.
Not if you ask Stephen King.
All right.
And no, it's one of those things where it's a shitty adaptation, great movie, so I'm going to get a lot of internet hate for that. But yeah, this is your third strike. First you torched the orphanage, then you blew up the bus full of nuns. You'll be seeing lots of nuns where you're going.
Hell. Yeah, that's a great line.
I mean, we all know they're Protestant, so I guess they don't think Catholics are right, so maybe he is right.
You'll see a lot of nuns where you're going. Hell. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, by the way, I love when there he is. Little Bart Simpson's a witness too.
I haven't seen this one in a long time because I never watched season 10, because season 10 is when everything starts to suck.
Didn't I buy you season 10 on DVD? Did you just throw it out?
You did. No, I have the DVDs, but like now that everything's on streaming, like I would watch the Simpsons DVDs all the time, but now it's on Disney Plus. The same thing with Hulu with Golden Girls. So those were the only two like DVD sets that I would actually pull out the DVDs for. And now I don't have to.
Yeah, I still get them because I love the commentary tracks, but
Ball State University. Simpsons commentary tracks are objectively the best commentary tracks because they know what they're doing. So the Golden Girls, they did a few commentary tracks, but they dragged out like Rue McClanahan before she died, and I don't think she understood what she was supposed to be doing. So she was just like making non sequitur comments and like not really telling any stories behind it, and it was just like not great. So
I do have to say I have an exception to what you said. The best commentaries of all time are right here on Second Rate Film School. So get that shit straight.
Okay, perfect. Yes, definitely.
But no, Simpsons, and I know you don't like it, Futurama, I think have the best. They're one of the only shows that I can think off the top of my head that have commentaries on literally every single episode. Like you said, it's usually like Golden Girls, like they'll pick out a handful of episodes a season and like pull out like whoever they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is great. Dr. Nick doing the hair transplant, just like it's like a wig at this point. Oh yeah, he's scalping Homer. That's horrifying.
Yikes. Oh, look at that. He looks good. It's like the hair episode, the Demoxenil episode, right?
Yeah. He had a little bit more of an 80s pompadour with that one, though. But yeah.
Have we ever talked about the Demoxenil episode and how weird it is that Harvey Firestein is supposed to be like his assistant that was in love with him?
We have not, because we've only talked about the Halloween episodes, but
I meant like in life. Have we talked about it?
No, I don't think so. By the way, I like how when Snake takes over, the haircut changes. I think it's a nice style. And then Homer puts on the shirt, puts the cigarette pack in his
yes.
Thing. Yeah, this is. I think I'm not 100% sure if this is, but John Carpenter did a movie called Body Bags in the 90s, and there's an episode where there's two segments in it that I think are potentially inspiring this. One where a guy gets a hair transplant that kills him, and then another one where Mark Hamill gets an eye transplant, but it's an eye from a serial killer. So I'm wondering if they combine those two segments to make this one. Just love the cops, like they help themselves to Slurpees and like snack foods before the press conference.
Just like real life.
I mean, probably. Yeah, drowned in the Slurpee that he's drinking from.
Oh my god.
So,
Oh, my penicillos.
yeah, I love when we saw Mo in his bowling shirt at the beginning when he's kind of like dressed out to go out on a night on the town to try and get a girlfriend. It's like, oh, poor Mo, you're never gonna get it.
Yeah. Poor Mo. Oh, ew. Yikes.
Yeah, for crying out loud. No funeral. Get that reference, Amanda?
Filthy old. Yeah, no funeral. Yes.
File photo.
No funeral.
I told you capital punishment isn't a deterrent.
Always good. Little dude.
Lisa. Bleeding heart liberals. Damn it. I like the electric chair. No murderers can get in. He locked himself in there.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, this is just great. We're escalating Homer's evilness. Oh, and hey, why isn't the doll alive anymore to help him? That could you imagine
Oh,
they did a
yeah.
callback to that one where it's like, oh, you're alive.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also getting like Shining vibes with the killer father trying to
Yeah.
fight off to save his son and all that. I love this.
Everyone's already figured that out.
It's Lisa's like, that's my one thing. It's like them shutting Velma down on Scooby Doo. It's like, let her have her thing.
Yeah.
The kid's gotta die. More than a lush head of hair. I mean, again, like I know we're just saying some of these jokes, but it's like, how can you not? Like they're so great.
Yeah. Oh, yikes.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
I love that the hair is now alive.
Yeah.
It's also great looking at yeah, I'm just punching him. It's like the South Park episode when Russell Crowe's like, I'm gonna fight cancer. So he just finds a man with cancer and starts beating him up. It's like,
Oh
oh
my
no,
God.
you're not helping.
Nahasa pasa. Just Mo. Just Mo. Just
Oh,
Mo.
that episode, this joke is a little more problematic now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shooting the hair.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the design on it, it's pretty clever using like the sideburns as
Yeah.
arms and like
Yeah.
almost like the flare as she now has her stuffed animal. That's what I call a bad hair day. You know, two people are dead, right? I just got it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I like how Maggie Young like to differentiate her day wear from her night wear is pink. And then yeah, the most stuff Itchy and Scratchy have had since I don't know, did the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie show air before this? Yeah, it would have had to have been. Yeah, if this was season 10, definitely. Yeah, so anything Itchy and Scratchy is always great, so therefore their segment is always great. Um, but glad to see that Marge is still on the anti-Itchy and Scratchy road with this one. So that's continuity. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Homer's playing it. Bart's playing Agarn. I love this joke. You going as a hobo again? Going where?
No Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah, Homer as the bum is one of my favorite designs of his, and they don't use it enough, sadly. Actually, in the greatest video game of all time, Simpsons Hit and Run, that's one of the costumes you can buy for Homer to wear, and I always do as a homage to this.
Mm.
Oh, and hey, look, there's a door on the kitchen for this one episode, and then Bart's just handling pure plutonium.
Oh my God. Just putting it in the remote.
they're fucking gonna die in like 10 years. Like this is like Chernobyl.
Candle in the Wound. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is a segment I think is an homage to the John Ritter movie. Terror Vision is what I believe it's called, where him and his wife are given a remote control by the devil, and they just go get sucked in, and they have to like deal with like trying to survive hellish versions of all the classic sitcoms and things they get brought into. And I do say I like how the animation style of The Simpsons fitting into the animation, the in-universe animation of Itchy and Scratchy is slightly different. Like the way the town is drawn and all that.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's like a little askew, right?
Yeah. This is great. They're laughing at your pain. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
That's mean. And this could also be considered kind of a Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like, oh, in the dream, aka in the TV thing, you're gonna get hurt.
Right.
It's no longer just cartoony. But yeah, no, we've come a far way from Itchy and Scratchy and Marge saying cartoon violence is dangerous to it's just cartoon violence of two kids being tortured.
Yeah.
Just love the glowing plutonium remote.
How are Bart and Lisa gonna get out of this one? Oh, Poochie, here we go.
Yeah.
Wiggity,
I guess this did
whack.
happen.
Wiggity, wiggity, whack.
Yeah, every time I see a celebrity who's gotten in trouble apologize, I always just share like the gif of Poochie had to go. Poochie has to go home, and Poochie died on his way to his home planet.
Yep.
It's like, I didn't know Poochie was an alien. Electrified bear traps. Funny thing is, that's only one step away from what they probably would have done in Mouse Hunt. Remember Mouse Hunt?
Yes. Regis and Kathy Lee. Who is that?
The guy who did the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah. What a reference. Now, for those of you who are not 40, like my sister, hey, you're getting better. You were originally 70 at the beginning of this.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Piranhas.
Old style remote controls. You don't see them like that anymore. You just see your Roku remote or Fire Stick.
I have one. Look.
Yeah. People won't see that though.
I know, but you can see it. It's an inside joke. I know you never had an inside joke because you don't have any friends. Oh.
All my guests on my show are my friends.
Yeah. Oh, I like that they used the rewind to give him his body back. That was funny.
That was like the best part of that movie, Click, like the creative way they would use the remote feature. So I like the.
You've watched Click?
It's a classic, and by
Jesus
classic, it's
Christ.
a movie that played on FX a lot when I couldn't go anywhere during the summer.
God, I don't think I've ever lately just turned on the TV and watched whatever is on. It's like the reason why I saw like half of the movies and TV shows I saw like before streaming was because I just turned TV on.
Yeah,
right?
It was like they were like on TBS and stuff like
that.
That's like the thing. Click was on FX a lot, so I would see it like all the time. And it was like 14. I don't have a car, so I guess I'm just trapped here during the summer.
So much of what I watched was literally just whatever they put on HBO.
Yeah,
because we were fancy and we had HBO when we were kids. For reasons I don't really understand, because like mom and dad never really watched TV.
I think it was just like for part of like the better thing to get a handful of channels. Though for me, it was on Channel 5 back when we had the old cable box, and it was I think I don't know if it was the permanent. Oh, this is horrifying. The body horror. Maggie losing her body parts is fucking terrifying.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, I think this is a original story as well. I mean, I know you have the whole aliens inseminating thing in pop culture.
Oh, right.
I don't think this is specifically anything.
Maggie lost her baby legs.
The ceiling's not safe for a young baby to play. She just gets the Proof. Again, what a horrible father.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Listen, when you're 35 years old, yeah, think about that. You're now older than Homer Simpson.
I am 35. I'm not older than 35.
Okay, you're the same age. Though they keep changing their age. That's like the one thing
Mm.
I think they've aged him up, so he might be now pushing 40. Is there anything you could prescribe? Fire and lots of it. That's your cure for everything. Yeah, too bad they didn't have Herb's baby translator here because they could find out what's going on.
That's true.
Yeah, did you know they had an episode from a couple seasons ago where Homer and Marge get spooked and when they almost die, and like, who's gonna watch our family for our kids first if something happens, and the whole episode's them trying to figure out who will take them in.
Mm-mm.
And Marge says, "Well, what about your brother Herb?" And they call him, and they got Danny DeVito to do a voicemail cameo. He's like, "Hi, this is Herb. I'm poor again," and they quickly hang up the phone.
I'm poor. Oh, man.
Oh, it's so. I would love to see Herb come back once or twice more. Like, those two episodes are great. Danny DeVito's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Not like not 6 times a season, but like once over the past nearly 30 years. I mean, when was the Brother Can You Spare Two Dimes? That was like what, season 4 or something like that.
Yeah, 5 or 6, something like that.
So it's like it's been quite a while, and I think that was the only time they ever even referenced him. Which is funny that they didn't put him in the background of the Simpsons family reunion episode when Lisa's like worried that she's gonna become like an idiot
Right.
as she gets older.
Yeah.
I love this. They're treating it like she's been cheating on him.
But yeah, what's the back? We're gonna get the backstory now, right?
Yeah, she was abducted by aliens, and Kang is the father.
Intergalactic hussy.
See, that's what I called my ex, and she didn't like that. It was weird.
Yeah.
It's also great because, like, I get it. Like, in the world of the show, we're on season 10 now, but like this is like a year ago in reality when you really think of the timeline.
You intergalactic hussy.
And also, I like how it's no longer a tractor beam; it's just a lasso.
Common spawning locations of your species. This is great.
Yeah.
The backseat of a Camaro, an airplane bathroom, a friend's wedding, or an alley behind a porno theater.
Too bad it wasn't the windmill. Marge can never have luck with where she gets pregnant.
Since I have no choice, I'll take the alley.
I love this. What was that? Nothing.
Have you decreased in mass?
Sliding away. Oh, God. This is so uncomfortable in retrospect.
Insemination.
That seemed awful quick. What are you implying?
I'd love to stay, but I have an early meeting tomorrow.
You're a super girl, though. Dump.
They gave her coffee and tea. That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, Marge is a great hostess. Though they didn't have enough chairs for the jury of the damned in that one. So maybe they're not always great hosts. Phil Hartman. What a classic guy. He was great. But yeah, I love this. Jerry Springer. It's like, okay. Yeah, this is when the era of just having the celebrities cameo as themselves started coming on. You're no longer getting James Earl Jones to play a character. You're no longer getting, Albert Brooks to, play a character. You're just getting them as themselves.
Yeah. Well, because it became popular. So you want to be a Simpsons character. Like, you don't want to just play somebody. You want to be like the person on The Simpsons.
Well, and they also, like, in the earlier seasons, there was the inclination, like, to be like, okay, The Simpsons is just an average American family from a town that no one cares about. Like, they shouldn't be bumping into celebrities constantly.
Right.
And, now that's, like, gone completely out the window. Like, oh, Lady Gaga's coming to town, and she's going to be best friends with Lisa.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah, I don't know if that's still the case, but for a while that was the lowest rated episode, like by far the lowest rated
Really?
episode. Like, yeah,
Lady Gaga.
that's a shame because I like Lady Gaga.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, yeah, just like vaporize. It's like Mars attacks.
Oh man.
The former mayor of Minneapolis.
Was he before or after?
Before
Like,
I think what killed him was he paid for a hooker with a personal check, and that ruined his political career. And then he
mm,
like kind of became famous. Yeah, I love at the roast of David Hasselhoff. He was like the MC because that was when Hasselhoff and him were still on America's Got Talent,
yeah.
and I think it was Jeff Ross is making fun of like Jerry Springer's career trajectory. He's like, you were an aide to Bobby Kennedy for Christ's sakes, but I guess you have Bobby Kennedy and David Hasselhoff have something in common. Both of their careers die on hotel room floors.
Wow.
It's like Jesus Christ.
Wow.
That Bobby Kennedy joke is a little too soon.
Oh, Bobby. Bobby.
Bobby. That's my impression of Rose Kennedy saying Bobby.
Or Whitney Houston. Bobby. That's how she would say it.
Kang's voice is very well. I'll drive.
Well,
Yeah,
and there we go.
So, all right. Well, thank you for joining us today for our commentaries for parts 7 through 9. So, join us again next week when we do a few more.
Did you see that Hank Azaria, his spooky Halloween name was Yank My Area?
Did not see that. Oh boy.
So, yikes. Bye. Wow.